Hello, we are here today for you to learn how to work a couple of samples. These are samples that I have made on my machine at home, and I do this with every machine that I own. It is a variety of stitches that I have on my machine, but I go through and I work out every different length or width that I have, so that way when I am testing out my machine or ready to sew with my fabric, I don't have to test out a whole bunch of stitches to figure out what I want. I can just come back to my handy dandy samples and decide which one is going to be best for what I want. I even do it for stretch fabric because for a while I was making dance clothes. So I did it on a variety of different fabrics that I might be using. You're going to do this same thing. So the first thing you're going to do is you are going to take two of your squares, two of them, and put them back to back like this. And then, you're going to get a ruler. And you're going to use two pens. To borrow these pens from the teacher, you have to give something personal of yours. It's a trade. And then at the end of the period, when you give the two pens back, you get your stuff back. So the first one is our heat erase pen. This is the one where when you iron it, it disappears. The next one here is just a fine tip Sharpie. This is what we're going to label our stitches with. It does not disappear. So I'm going to go through and I am going to write down 5 lines with my heat erasable pen on my squares. And you can see I've got them kind of chunky apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I'm going to set my pen to the side but not lose it because I have to return it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say that my width is right here. I'm going to put it at a number 3. That means that my needle is going to be centered in the middle of my machine. So I'm going to write down my width is a 3 or a 3.0, but my length, we are going to start at a number 4. We're going to start at a number 4. So we're going to write down length 4.0. And then I'm going to go by halves. I'm going to go halfway in between. So that's going to be a width at 3 and a length at 3.5. And then I'm going to do it again. I'm going to keep my width at 3 the whole time. But my length, I'm going to go down a half a stitch each time. So width is a 3 and a length is a 2.5, and then we're going to do a width of 3 and a length of a 2, and we're going to get a second square to go on. But let's go back up to a 4 so this way we can practice. And you'll notice that I'm on stitch A, which is my straight stitch. For this assignment, you do not need to back tack. This is a sample. I don't want to see long back tacks. I want you to have what your length is. So from here, I'm just going to start sewing. And I go all the way to the end. When I'm done, I'm going to, I'm stuck. What it means when your machine does this is you just happen to stop in the middle of a stitch. There's nothing wrong with it. You didn't do anything wrong. You just stopped in the middle of a stitch. So I'm going to come over here and turn my flywheel a little bit while I pull. There we go. And it just finished the stitch, and now I'm able to pull that out. That's all that happened. I'm going to cut it here, cut off my tails here, and now I'm going to change my dial halfway between 3 and 4, which is a 3.5. And I'm going to do it again. And when I get to the end, I'm going to stop. Oh, I did it again, in the middle of a stitch. There we go. Cut and a cut. And so now what we've got is you are going to see just a slight difference going down on each line, and it's going to vary what your length of stitches are. So you'll be able to look at them and determine what you need. So now we go to a 3. Then we're going to go to a 2.5. Stuck. There we go. And then I'm going to go to a 2. I'm pulling all of these strands out of my way. You could cut them. I'm just moving them. Okay, I'm going to go through now and cut these off because I don't need them. Okay, so now I've got my 4.0, my longest length, down to a 2.0. And when I look on the back, I can definitely see a difference in length. When you iron this, your lines will disappear if you've used the heat erase pin. Your Sharpie for your labels should be fine, and you should actually be just heat setting them. But we're not done. We still have a couple of stitches left. So I'm going to get 2 more. And let's see, we're going to need a 1.5. Oop, I got to do this on the table. So we're going to need a 1.5 line. We're going to need a 1. And we're going to need a 0.5. And then I think let's try just above a 0. Let's see if it'll work. So we're going to go width is still a 3. We haven't moved it. But our length is now going to be a 1.5. Our width is a 3. Our length will be a 1. Our width is a 3. Our length will be a 0.5. Our width is a 3, and our length will be, like a 0.1. Let's give it a try and see what it does. It's going to be just above the 0. Okay, so we're going to move it to a 1.5, and let's see what it does. Ooh, so tiny. Ooh, I'm going so fast it's shaking the camera, sorry. Ooh, yeah, tiny stitches. Nice. Go down to a 1. Perfect. Ooh, very tiny. We're going to go down to a 0.5, which looks like this little buttonhole guy right here. Okay, and then the last one we're going to try is a 0.1, which means I'm going to go all the way to 0, but then go back. Let's see if it'll even move. It might be too small. I don't know. Let's try it. Is it even going? Yeah, it is. It's so tiny. Ooh. No, it's going. Nope, it's stuck. Let's go up one more. Ah, it's stuck. It won't even go that far. So that's a good experiment. And you can even see on the back, it was going so tiny, it just stayed in one spot and it made a knot. But in comparison, we can actually look at the difference between the 4.0, which is our biggest stitch, and what did actually work was the 0.5. That's the tiniest stitch ever. Now remember, when you iron these, the line marks will come off, but your Sharpie should stay on there just fine. Okay, you're going to do a couple more. We're going to do one on a zigzag. So here's my sample pieces, and I'm going to draw 5 lines again. One, 2, 3, 4, oops, and 5. Okay. So now we need to come up and adjust our machine. Our zigzag stitch is C. Well, and on the other Janome, you're going to move it to whichever number or letter it is. So I'm going to go to C. 3 is about your basic standard. When you're sewing, somewhere between 2.5 and 3 is your basic standard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down that I'm doing my width in a 3, and I'm doing my length in a 2.5. This is your standard zigzag stitch, okay? So I'm going to bring it back up here to my machine now. And I'm going to go ahead and sew. Remember, you don't need to back tack. Bring that out, and this is what your basic zigzag looks like. Anytime you zigzag, this is about average of what it's going to be. But we want to play with this. So what we're going to do is we are going to leave our length at a 2.5, our basic, and we're going to move our width. We're going to move it to a 5. And let's see what that does. So our width, we're going to go to a 5.0, but our length, we're going to keep it at 2.5. Let's see what that does with our zigzag. Oh, well, that makes quite a wider zigzag, doesn't it? Okay. So now let's leave our length at a 2.5, but let's move our width all the way down. We can't go to 0 because that means nothing. So let's go to a 0.5. So our width is going to be a 0.5 and our length is going to be a 2.5. Well, that's a zigzag, but you can barely see it. This is a much smaller zigzag than obviously our first sample, but if you really look at it, you can see it. This is a flatter zigzag than the brother does. This is pretty darn flat. Okay, so let's change this around. Let's go back up here to our standard number 3, right? That's where we started out at the beginning. But now let's change our length. So we're going to leave this here, but now let's move our length to a number 4. So we're going to come and we're going to put our width at a number 3, but now we're going to change our length to be a 4.0. Let's see what that does. Whoa, that sews fast. Okay, well, we've moved back up to zigzags again. All right, and that's pretty far spread out. All right, so now let's move this all the way down to a 0.5. Remember, we're not going to go any lower because all we got were knots. So we're going to do a width at a 0.5. Nope, sorry, we're doing our width at the number 3. My mistake. Let me fix my number here. Width at a 3, and our length is at a 0.5. All right, so now we'll come in here. Oh, tiny. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Okay, well, that's a considerable difference, isn't it? Here we go. This is a good assortment of each of your stitches, really showing you the difference between what happens when you move around each of your widths and your lengths. It's the same stitch, but you're giving it variation. So I will want you to go to your Google Classroom, and you will need to pay attention to the assignment, because what we're going to do is I will have a list on there of which ones I want you to do and which numbers I want you to do them at. All right? So you guys will double check in your Google Classroom on the assignment for this sample so you can see which ones you're going to do. There'll be a list of them, and you're going to double up every single time, because that way your fabric is thick enough to withstand the thickness of some of these stitches. When you're done, feel free to iron them. That will erase all of your lines as long as you did the heat erase pen. And your Sharpie for the wording should be just fine. Remember to return these to the teacher in order to get your personal belongings back. Happy sewing!